trying to hit Yi Chenyuan again. Shen Jian tried to mediate. Elder Li, don't be angry. Isn't this a good match? A perfect couple. The white dragon was also trying to stop Elder Li. Why is Grandpa Li hitting Daddy? He and Mom are supposed to be together. Those words only added fuel to the fire. So everyone except this old man knew. I've been guarding against a thief, but it was my own family. Yi Chenyuan wiped the blood from his lips and apologized to Elder Li. After he apologized, he stood up and looked at Yuan Chu. But I really love Master. I've loved her since I was very young. If he hadn't said that, it might have been okay. But upon hearing it, Elder Li punched Yuan Chu in the chest and abdomen, blaming himself. I should have known. That rascal had been taking liberties with Yuan Chu when she was only years old. At the time, I thought they were just playing around, but he was really serious. The White Dragon and Shen Jian, who were watching, were even more shocked. 6 years old. Was he being so precocious? Yi Chenyuan was calm and mature. As long as Master was willing to be with him, he would be willing to do anything, and he could do anything. The pink bubbles of love were all around. Even Elder Li, who was usually oblivious, could see that Yuan Chu was not opposed to this relationship. He even felt like he was an evil stepmother, separating a lovely couple. For a moment, everyone was quiet. Then suddenly, Elder Li coughed awkwardly, and agreed to their relationship. The White Dragon cheered happily. So that means Grandpa Li supports Daddy. Shen Jian also jumped up and down excitedly. In all his years of living, he loved watching love the most. Yuan Chu stared at them in disbelief. I haven't even said anything. How come you've all already made a decision? Then, Elder Li pulled Yuan Chu aside to talk in private. After thinking about it, she thought that Xiao Chu and Xiao Yuan were actually a good match. Yuan Chu was speechless. Weren't they the ones who were shouting the loudest? How did their stance suddenly change? Elder Li started counting with his fingers. Where else in this world can you find a man as devoted to you as Xiao Yuan? He would indulge her, be tolerant towards her, and spoil her. He has already learned all of her habits, tastes, and style. The most important thing is that the kid has been devoted to you since childhood. He'll never change. Yuan Chu blinked, strangely finding her words very reasonable. Elder Li continued. Besides, that kid's quality is changing. If he gets tricked away by other women, where else can you find someone as good, and who'll take care of you like this? Upon hearing this, Yuan Chu felt a little panicked. But even so, he still her disciple. She could still take care of him. Elder Li rolled his eyes at her. Can that be the same? When you have a husband, how can you possibly have time to take care of you? You'll regret it then. Someone as incapable as you, someone who doesn't care about cultivating, just causes trouble. Other than Xiao Yuan, where are you going to find such a fool who is so good to you? And other than Xiao Yuan, who can tolerate your temper? Do you think it's easy to have someone who loves to act like a spoiled child? With your troublesome personality, only Xiao Yuan can handle you. If it was someone else, you'd probably get beaten 3 times a day. Also, you don't have the looks and you're not curvy. Only Xiao Yuan will find you attractive. While he isn't clear-headed, hurry and grab him first. Yuan Chu, who was completely devastated by her words, was stunned. Was she really that bad? Suddenly, a wicked smile formed on her lips. Since I'm so bad, it's okay to bully the old folks then. So, Yuan Chu sat down on the ground and started wailing loudly. Hearing her cries, Yi Chenyuan instantly shot 2 laser beams at Elder Li's back. Elder Li stumbled. When he was about to say that she was just faking, he saw that Yi Chenyuan had reached him. He was angry that Elder Li had made his master cry, and his eyes became hostile. Elder Li shouldn't be saying those things even if you don't approve of us. Elder Li was speechless. That ungrateful brat. I was trying to help him. Yuan Chu cried even harder, complaining to Yi Chenyuan. He said him naughty, I'm a spendthrift. Xiao Yuan, he bullied me. Yi Chenyuan was heartbroken. No matter what Yuan Chu was like, she was perfect for him. Elder Li felt like his breath was cut off. He wanted to say that Yuan Chu was faking it, but Yuan Chu interrupted him. He said him willful, and he even worried that no one would want me. Yi Chenyuan glanced at Elder Li helplessly, his eyes full of disapproval. Yuan Chu even made a face at Elder Li when Yi Chenyuan couldn't see. Elder Li's anger was maxing out. He turned around and left without looking back. This home no longer had any space for him. He had to leave. Shenjian and the White Dragon were distraught, and hurriedly pulled Elder Li back and tried to calm him down. Yi Chenyuan then pulled Yuan Chu into his arms. In his heart, she had no flaws. After playing for a while, Yi Chenyuan went to cultivate, leaving Yuan Chu alone in her room. Her feelings were complicated. Even though she had a Buddhist heart, and was focused on cultivating, she could still feel that he was different to her, but she dared not give him any response. She still had to find Sijing, and more importantly, she was afraid that even if she agreed, she might not be with him for long. There was something she had never thought about much, but now that she thought about it, it made her uneasy. In the last life, was she really killed by Yi Chenyuan? In the last life, she upgraded all the way, snatching the male lead's opportunities. Yet, whenever they fought, he never really did any serious damage to her. Only the last time, she suddenly felt a weakness in her soul. She was killed before they even got to fight. At first, she thought Yi Chenyuan had set her up. She scolded him before her death, but after that she really died. And when she died, not even her soul could escape. This was impossible for someone at the late stage of separation realm. Also, in the last life, when her cultivation had ascended into the Outward-body stage, she also felt the same weakness in her soul. She didn't pay much attention to it back then. But yesterday, she was watching Yi Chenyuan cultivate, when she suddenly felt a moment of heart palpitations. She almost didn't overcome the bottleneck. Like a mortal, this was what caused her to be on alert. If she didn't die by the male lead's hands in her last life, then how did she die? When Yi Chenyuan came out, he found Yuan Chu in a daze. He asked her curiously what was wrong. Yuan Chu glanced at him. Actually, the reason I accepted you as my disciple is very simple. It's because you oppressed me too much in the last life. I want to bully you back this life. And, for now, I am still bullying you. You are so obedient in front of me, that is my success. As she thought of this, Yuan Chu couldn't help but smile mischievously. Suddenly, Yi Chenyuan reached out and pinched her cheek. Coming back to her senses, Yuan Chu said angrily, "This disciple is too bold. How can you casually pinch your master's face?" Yi Chenyuan looked a bit helpless. It's only because master's expression while daydreaming is too cute. He couldn't help it. Yuan Chu was speechless. She decided to take back her previous assessment of him. When they left the cave, they were blocked by Zhang Liyang, who had been waiting outside. I admit defeat. Seeing them meet was like facing an enemy. Yi Chenyuan had wanted to beat Zhang Liyang for a long time. Master told him not to beat him, but she didn't say he couldn't bully him. Zhang Liyang's face was dark. How could he, a dignified man, ever since he met these two, he was either getting beaten, or on the way to being beaten. Yuan Chu patted her head in annoyance. I almost forgot that Zhang Liyang was waiting outside. He had been beaten out of nowhere, and on his own territory. He must be very angry. At this moment, someone reported that the neighboring empire had suddenly gathered a large army, demanding that they hand over Yi Chenyuan. Yuan Chu finally understood. Because Yi Chenyuan took the divine sword, the people from the empire would never let it go. This was all their plan. Zhang Liyang laughed loudly. Looks like Yi Chenyuan's popularity is really bad. Not only has he offended me, has also offended the empire. I'm going to grab you and throw you to the empire. I heard their torture methods are much more diverse than mine. Before Zhang Liyang could react, Yi Chenyuan pulled Yuan Chu back into the cave. Once inside, Yi Chenyuan discussed with Yuan Chu about going to the place Yuan Chu wanted to go next time. Yuan Chu was hesitant. Her demonic eye was telling her that she didn't want to go again. She had also heard that there was a great seer in the demon realm who could see the demonic eye. And she wanted to find him to understand the cause of her death in her previous life. Her rejection made Yi Chenyuan feel uncertain. The empire was already here. Zhang Liyang also definitely wouldn't let them go to the demon realm. He didn't know how to satisfy her. Yuan Chu then proposed that he return to the empire first. She will solve everything and then catch up. Yi Chenyuan didn't hesitate. How could he let his master be near that wolf, Zhang Liyang? Yuan Chu didn't want to make it difficult for Yi Chenyuan. She made a deal with him. They agreed to meet in 3 days. Yi Chenyuan immediately said he would stay behind. Yi Chenyuan didn't hesitate to say such a reckless thing. Yuan Chu was secretly happy. He was afraid that Zhang Liyang had bad intentions. Yi Chenyuan was embarrassed. He was so obvious. Seeing his blushing face, Yuan Chu couldn't help but laugh. She promised him again that he was the only one who has kissed her, and that she won't be kissing anyone else. Yi Chenyuan's eyes lit up. He could feel that Master was slowly getting closer to him. Yuan Chu continued, "I'm not a little girl who doesn't know anything. I can protect myself. If you're doing it for my sake, you should give me the chance to be independent. Is that so?" Yuan Chu's words rendered Yi Chenyuan speechless. He didn't want to give her that independence, but once she said it, he realized that he couldn't refute it. "You are my beloved, I'll leave you for 3 days. If you don't come back, I will." Outside, Zhang Luyang was still waiting. A portal suddenly appeared before them. Yuan Chu and Yi Chenyuan appeared. Before he could react, Yi Chenyuan ran away. He wanted to chase, but Yuan Chu stopped him. She asked him to help Yi Chenyuan find the people of the empire, while she would take care of Zhang Luyang. Zhang Luyang's expression was a bit strange. This wolf who wanted to possess her is suddenly leaving her behind. Then he had an idea, and started to size Yuan Chu up and down. Yuan Chu was creeped out. What is he planning now? Zhang Luyang's face changed into a sly smile. "So, you've already been eaten by Yi Chenyuan." Yuan Chu was shocked. Did Yi Chenyuan clean her mouth after their kiss? How did Zhang Luyang know about it? She awkwardly explained, "It's not what you think." Hearing this, Zhang Luyang's eyes lit up. "So, that wolf hasn't eaten yet?" Yuan Chu coldly glared at him. No matter what, she would not be with Zhang Luyang. Zhang Luyang was unconvinced. Was he not handsome enough, or did Yi Chenyuan use some underhanded tactics? It was too unfair. Yuan Chu facepalmed herself. Why was she even having this conversation? She didn't want to waste time. She told him that Yi Chenyuan had left so as not to cause panic, and that she was staying because she wanted his help with something. Confirming that Yi Chenyuan had really gone to find the people of the empire, Zhang Luyang coldly sneered. He was courting death. Now that Yi Chenyuan was the master of the divine sword, it wouldn't leave him unless he died, and those of the empire were really afraid of the divine sword. He was as good as dead. Thinking this, Zhang Luyang couldn't help but laugh. He was relieved that Yi Chenyuan was suffering. He was in a good mood and asked Yuan Chu what she wanted from him. Yuan Chu's expression changed. She thought he was out of his mind. She cut to the chase, saying that she wanted to go to the demon eye of the demon realm. Zhang Luyang became serious. The demon eye and the demon prison were the two most important places in the demon clan. Ordinary people were not allowed to get close. Yuan Chu knew that these places were not to be trifled with, but the prophecy of the demon realm was connected to the demon eye. She could only ask Zhang Luyang to bring her there. Also, the demon realm will collapse in years. Zhang Luyang was suspicious because he had never heard of this before. Yuan Chu didn't know how to explain. She couldn't tell him that she was reborn and knew everything. While she was figuring out how to answer, Zhang Luyang suddenly agreed. He owed her a favor, so he would return it this way. Yuan Chu was a bit embarrassed, since she knew the favor was from a few snacks, but he had taken it to heart. He decided that he would help if the demon realm were in trouble in the future, but Zhang Luyang's next sentence crushed her. He grinned wickedly. How will you repay me for my help? Why don't you repay me with your body? Yuan Chu gave him a dirty look. She must have been blind to think he was a good person. Elsewhere, Yi Chenyuan was surrounded. Yi Chenyuan's identity had finally been exposed. Because he had become the master of the divine sword, the people of the empire were chasing him, demanding that he hand over the sword to the emperor. Only the royal bloodline deserved to wield it. The dean of the first academy finally stood up. He flew before Yi Chenyuan, loudly announcing that Yi Chenyuan was the true royal grandson. As the former teacher of the crown prince, what he said had a high degree of credibility, but there were still those who didn't believe him. Yi Chenyuan flew before them. He didn't say much, but he directly drew his sword. With a soft hum, the divine sword, which had been silent for a long time, released its divine power. Everyone felt it. It pressed down on them, crushing them to the ground. Everyone was shocked. They didn't expect to witness a true divine artifact, and that it was as powerful as the legends say. They knelt down, acknowledging their loyalty to the royal family, and that only the true descendants of the emperor can wield the sword. Thus, Yi Chenyuan was the true royal grandson. The moment the divine sword spoke, everyone was shaking and no longer doubted Yu Chenyuan's identity. But because of this, they started to think, if the true royal grandson was here, who was that person in the palace? On the other side, Yuan Chu was with Zhang Liuyang before a white stone gate. This gate was so high that they couldn't see inside. Zhang Liuyang said that there was information inside. Before the demon mother died, she transferred all of her blood here. But only the demon king had the right to enter the demon eye. He was only a demon lord, so he didn't know if it was there. Their main mission was to protect the demon realm. They could only wait and see. Actually, Yuan Chu didn't know what she wanted to ask. After all, even if the other party could foresee the future, they wouldn't be able to know about her rebirth. Would they be able to solve her doubts? Yuan Chu stared at the cold and colorless door. Suddenly, she flew up. On each side of the gate, there was a bracelet, which could fit her entire person. Just as Yuan Chu's hand was about to touch the bracelet, a voice was heard. She quickly turned around and saw a small old man with a long hat and beard looking at her. Yuan Chu found him a bit cute, but the killing intent he emitted told her that the old man was not simple. Yuan Chu suddenly felt a headache. Zhang Liuyang respectfully bowed towards the old man, Master Demon Sage. The Demon Sage acknowledged Zhang Liuyang. But, with Zhang Liuyang's qualifications, he shouldn't be here. What was he doing here, and with a stranger? Wanting to help Zhang Liuyang, Yuan Chu stepped forward and said that she wanted to trade information about the future of the demon race for a chance to meet him. The Demon Sage didn't reply and directly released a terrifying pressure. Yuan Chu felt her shoulders slump and she almost fell from the sky. Zhang Liuyang wanted to support her, but he couldn't break through the Demon Sage's will. The Demon Sage looked at Yuan Chu and coldly asked who she was. He couldn't see through this girl's fate. That terrifying killing intent made Yuan Chu's heart tremble. She resisted the pressure and quickly told the Demon Sage that the demon realm would collapse in 100 years. As soon as she finished, the pressure instantly disappeared. What she said was exactly what the Demon Sage saw in Zhang Liuyang's fate. Yuan Chu felt as though she had been fished out of water, but she ignored that and asked if she could stay. The Demon Sage didn't answer, and just let Zhang Liuyang leave. Zhang Liuyang was a bit reluctant, but he thought that with the Demon Sage there, Yuan Chu wouldn't be able to run away. But before leaving, he warned Yuan Chu to be honest. After Zhang Liuyang left, the Demon Sage placed his hand on the door. The door emitted a soft hum. He didn't open the door, but he was already inside. Yuan Chu was a bit hesitant. Should she enter alone with a person who was so much stronger than her? But there was a voice in her heart telling her that she could find what she was looking for here. So she followed, and he was already there. An immense and pure demonic power washed over her. The demonic power within her was also pulled out. Unlike the demonic realm, the demonic power here was thick, but gentle, making her feel comfortable. But the thick smell of blood filled the air. It was the demon mothers. The Demon Sage sat on a strange red platform. He pointed to the opposite side of him, gesturing for Yuan Chu to sit. Then, the Demon Sage got straight to the point, asking why Yuan Chu knew about the prophecy. Yuan Chu wouldn't tell him directly unless he helped her first. The Demon Sage was silent for a long time before agreeing. He asked Yuan Chu to voice her questions. Although he couldn't see her future, he had seen everything in his years. Yuan Chu's heart was beating fast. She couldn't help but voice her doubts. She slowly told him about her weak soul. She didn't know if she was sick or if she was being suppressed, or if it was because she cultivated both demon and spirit. After all, throughout history, she may be the only one who cultivated both. Even Yu Chenyuan was only storing his demonic power into his artifact. The Demon Sage was quick to deny her guess. Cultivating both demon and spirit would either cause one to die in pain or completely control it. Yuan Chu was the latter, so her body shouldn't be affected by this. Hearing this, Yuan Chu was even more confused. She asked under what circumstance would this happen. The Demon Sage stared at her but only said, "You must first understand that a living person cannot feel their own soul." Hearing that, Yuan Chu felt a jolt and an unsettling feeling rose in her heart. Normally, people could only feel their soul under two situations. The first was when one had suffered a serious injury. When one was about to die, they could feel their extremely weak soul. The second was when their soul was being suppressed. The higher the cultivation, the more obvious it would be. According to what Yuan Chu said, this started when she first transmigrated. So, by the time she reached the late stage of split body, her soul would be extremely weak. Because what was dying was the base of her soul, it could not leave her body. When that person was weak, the heavenly Tao would not notice her. But when that person became stronger, the heavenly Tao would do its best to suppress them. His words made Yuan Shu realize that her death was caused by the world rejecting her. The cause of her death in the previous life was finally revealed. Yuan Shu never would have imagined that because she was a transmigrator, she was rejected by this world's heavenly Tao. The stronger she got, the more the heavenly Tao would want to erase her. Just then, the entire hall violently shook. A massive demon god statue emerged. It appeared in the hall. The demon sage immediately knelt down and bowed. This was the consciousness of the demon mother. He didn't expect it to awaken at this moment. Yuan Shu felt a gentle force envelop her. Then, she disappeared from her spot. Yuan Shu turned to leave, but was grabbed by an invisible force. Although the ancient demon god's power was gentle, she had no way to resist it. Yuan Shu gave up struggling. A consciousness that had been asleep for who knows how long suddenly awakened. Yuan Shu knew that it was related to their conversation. Then, she felt a blur before her eyes. A woman with horns and a tail, and covered in demonic tattoos slowly descended from the statue. Yuan Shu involuntarily looked up, but the moment she saw his eyes, her soul trembled. A pair of intensely colored pupils occupied her vision, making her heart race. Suddenly, a hand slapped her face hard. Yuan Shu jolted awake. She realized that everything had changed. This was the house she lived in before she transmigrated. And her father was angry because she sold herself. At this moment, Yuan's father was furious, demanding an explanation from Yuan Shu. The daughter he raised shouldn't be this way. But Yuan Shu endured the pain in her heart, and didn't say a word. If her father knew that she was going to die soon and she needed the money to save her life, he would absolutely not allow her to do this. Marrying an old man was disgusting to her, but he was the only one who could save her father's life. So, she was willing to follow the Wen family's arrangements. Yuan Shu's silence broke her father's heart. He decided he didn't have this daughter anymore. After saying that, he turned and went back to his room. At this moment, Yuan Shu wanted to chase after him. But she could only stand there like an outsider, watching this familiar scene. She wanted to tell him loudly that she was forced into this. She was deceived by the Wen family. But her father couldn't hear her voice. At this moment, a cool breeze came from behind her. Yuan Shu, whose consciousness returned to her body, couldn't hold back her tears. She could only watch everything unfold like an outsider, and she was powerless to do anything. At this moment, Momu appeared next to her like a shadow. She knew that Yuan Shu wanted to go back to change everything. But the past could only be reached by one with the heavenly pearl. She could give Yuan Shu something with the same effect. But the prerequisite was that Yuan Shu had to help her with one thing. Yuan Shu's heart wavered. Her eyes were no longer clear, but filled with the complexity and vicissitudes of reality. Her eyes were slightly blurred. She tasted the bitterness that she had been hiding for so long. But, she didn't lose her rationality. The things Momu wanted her to do were definitely not simple. Momu didn't answer. She just had a mysterious smile on her face. She knew that Yuan Shu would agree. Yuan Shu took a deep breath, but in the end, asked an unrelated question. Is it true that my soul is rejected by this world? Momu gave her an affirmative answer. The higher her cultivation, the more she would be rejected. The more she changed things, the stronger the rejection would be. Just like helping the heavenly mandate employee. Just like helping Momu. All of it would accelerate the process. Yuan Shu's heart trembled. So, I can't have a lover. This time, Momu stared at her for a long time. Then sighed, you have no fate with him. Going against fate, in the end, you will come to nothing. Not only that, but it will also bring harm. Momu's words made tears fall from Yuan Shu's eyes. Her throat was sore but she couldn't cry out loud. Is it really impossible? Her memory was hurting her, what should she do? Momu pointed at her heart, reminding her that the reason she had a heart condition was because she had received too much true feelings in her life. So, she was desperately trying to repay those feelings. But, she didn't know that not all feelings can be repaid. Why, even before that time is up, have you already sunk so deep? Have you forgotten what you said in the beginning? Yuan Shu was lost. She knew that there were too many temptations in life, but she just wanted to do one thing. That was to go back to her father. She was uneasy in this world. Someone like her, how could she dare to love someone? But why did her heart hurt so much? She didn't know where she belonged. She didn't know where she was going. She didn't even know if she was still herself. In the end, Mo Mu's figure disappeared. She left behind a wisp of her consciousness in her mind, and then disappeared into the darkness. Distraught, Yuan Chu knelt in front of the statue of the gods, crying her heart out. The entire hall was filled with her wailing. This was the first time she had broken down like this. And it wasn't even because of herself. When she came out of the hall, her mind was already made up. She promised little Yuan that she would look for him in 3 days. So, she had to complete the deal with Mo Mu within those 3 days. Yuan Chu came to Mo Mu's side. Mo Mu said that she needed to go to the burial ground of the gods, and only Mo Mu could take her there. I am very practical. That's when she found out that Yuan Chu had been implanted with a demonic seed. The demonic seed could stimulate the demonic nature. If she wasn't careful, she would suffer chi deviation. She couldn't help but remind Yuan Chu that the burial ground of the gods was originally a place where gods had fallen. The residual energy there couldn't be removed, even by gods. Once touched, it would cause demonic possession. Even Mo Mu would suffer chi deviation if she got too close. Yuan Chu going to the burial ground of the gods with the demonic seed was practically a suicide mission. Yuan Chu understood what she meant, but this was her promise to Mo Mu. No matter how difficult it was, she had to try. Yuan Chu finally knew that she wasn't favored by the heavens. The stronger she got, the more the heavens wanted her dead. In order to stay in this world for a bit longer, Yuan Chu agreed to Mo Mu's request to take the demonic seed to the burial ground of the gods to find the heart of the gods. Before entering, Yuan Chu told Mo Mu that if she didn't come out in 3 days, then she should tell Yi Chen Yuan about her deal with Mo Mu. If he wanted to know the truth, he should go look for Su Jing. After saying that, she resolutely went into the burial ground of the gods. Everything was quiet. Suddenly, a demonic whisper echoed in Yuan Chu's ears. Her vision blurred. In the next second, countless malicious whispers rang in her ears. Her world started to fall apart. The voices grew louder and more insistent. Her body was under immense pressure. She wished she could tear her head apart just to get some peace, but she couldn't. She had to find the heart of the gods. She needed time. She needed more time. Everything she had been through flashed through her mind. Her father's love, the warmth from the old man next door, but, even more so, was Yi Chen Yuan's smiling face, gently touching her head. He said she was great, very cute, and that she was invincible. He was the best master in the world. He always said good things to her. She knew she was being childish, but she just wanted to be pampered and loved by him. He had done so much for her. He said that he liked her, and had liked her for a long time. Even if she couldn't reciprocate his feelings, she wanted more time to spend with him. She still had so many places she wanted to visit with him. She wanted to go to the Milky Way, to the Starry Lake, to so many places they had yet to go. So, she absolutely could not die here. With her awakening, everything around her disappeared and the darkness also dissipated. Then, she saw that there were so many corpses at her feet. It seemed that those were the people that had been possessed by the power of the burial ground of the gods. There were hundreds of thousands of corpses. Yuan Chu couldn't help but shiver. If she hadn't woken up, her end would have been the same as these corpses. But no matter what, she had made it through the first test. Just as she was about to move forward, someone suddenly patted her shoulder from behind. Yuan Chu's mind was in chaos. The next second, the scene in front of her changed. A girl wearing an exquisite dress smiled at her, saying that she wanted to be friends with her. Yuan Chu hadn't reacted. The cheerful-looking girl suddenly changed into a hideous face. She cursed Yuan Chu for being a despicable gold digger. The girl's crush liked Yuan Chu, so she was going to get revenge by forcing Yuan Chu to marry an old investor for money. After finishing, she pushed Yuan Chu forcefully, making her stumble back. And then someone helped her up. She turned her head, and saw a kind-looking noblewoman smiling at her. She said, "Actually, it's not like you'll have to be married forever. After you marry CEO Liu, you can get a divorce after a year. By then, your father will be cured and he won't bother you anymore. You can even take a sum of money with you." Yuan Chu felt like she was falling into an abyss. She forcefully pushed away the people in front of her, wanting to escape this lie. But, she saw a middle-aged man smiling and reaching out to her, saying that he was her real father, Wen Qiancheng. As long as Yuan Chu went with him, he would make her live like a princess. But soon, his expression changed. He said in a very harsh tone, "Your mother was just a temptress who seduced me. You are just an unwanted illegitimate child." His words made Yuan Chu's eyes widen. At this moment, she heard a woman crying. The woman was wearing a mental hospital gown. Her tears fell like a broken string of pearls. She cried to Yuan Chu, saying that she was taken from Wen Tiancheng, and when she tried to sue him, she was sent to the mental hospital. Yuan Chu wanted to save her mother, but just as she reached out, everything went blank. The woman was gone and she was back in the darkness. The painful memories grew stronger under the influence of the demonic seed. All sorts of unpleasant images kept flashing in her mind. Yuan Chu clutched her head in pain, her eyes gradually filled with blood tears. She was being tortured to the point of madness. On the other side, Yi Chenyuan was subduing the demons. At this moment, his heart suddenly clenched. A strong sense of unease washed over him. He immediately sensed that Yuan Chu was in danger. He left everything behind, and hurried towards the demon realm. In the burial ground of the gods, Yuan Chu was curled up in the darkness. Around her, it was as if someone was chanting, constantly blaming her. "You're a jinx. Your father disowned you. Your mother was sold because of you. Only your death can clear your name." Her vision was blurred. Yuan Chu shakily raised her hand. She pointed it at her heart. Immediately, the voices around her screamed with excitement. "Stab it! Stab it!" Seeing that everyone wanted her dead, Yuan Chu's eyes became bloodshot. Finally, she gave in. She took her blade and made a long cut across her chest. And then, Yuan Chu used her other hand, and directly pulled the demonic seed out. Immediately, all the voices disappeared. "Ha ha ha! Everyone wants me dead. How can I let you have your way?" In the next second, all sorts of strange sounds rang in her ears. Millions of evil souls flew around her. With a flick of her fingers, the demonic seed was crushed into powder. This made the evil souls even more crazy. Among the many noisy screams, a particularly angry voice roared, "You've already suffered so much pain, why aren't you dead yet? Do you think you can get out of here alive? Even if you get out alive, you will be tormented to death. The only option you have is to die." Yuan Chu's body trembled, but in the end, she was forced to her knees. But, at this moment, she smiled. She wouldn't die because she had an unfinished mission. They were suppressed because of their obsession, which is why they couldn't reincarnate. But she was different from them. She would never give in. Even if she died, she, Yuan Chu, would have a clear conscience. At this moment, she finally saw the appearance of those evil souls. Each of them had no heart. And yet she was here searching for the heart of the gods. Suddenly, Yuan Chu's expression changed. She sat down cross-legged. She used all of her spiritual power to chant the Reincarnation Sutra. She wanted to help them reincarnate. Realizing her intentions, all the evil souls became enraged. They started to fuse together, and in the end, they turned into a huge creature that rushed toward Yuan Chu like a monster. "I will definitely kill you, in order to stay in this world a bit longer with the one she loved." Yuan Chu went to the dangerous burial ground of the gods to seek a way out. At this moment, Yuan Chu was using all of her spiritual power to chant the Reincarnation Sutra. She was trying to help tens of thousands of spirits reincarnate. But how could those evil spirits allow that? They fused into a giant creature, and rushed toward Yuan Chu like a demon. With Yuan Chu's cultivation, she couldn't possibly withstand their attack. But she couldn't back down at this moment. She could only desperately chant the Reincarnation Sutra, and maybe she could survive. Just as the monster was about to reach her, a light barrier appeared in front of her, blocking the attack of the evil spirits. A figure appeared in front of her. His chest was heaving, showing how hard he had run. But his voice was as calm as ever. "Master, don't be afraid. I'm here. You can do whatever you want. Leave these things to me. I won't let them hurt you." Yuan Chu's heart felt like it was being. She couldn't help but chuckle lightly. "All right, let's try to break this damned place together today." With him here, even in hell, she felt at peace. Yi Chenyuan hovered in the air above the abyss. The divine sword in his hand emitted a dazzling light. "Leave it all to me," he said. He started to materialize his spiritual power. The originally translucent power turned into a powerful dragon. Yi Chenyuan's eyes were red. "Anyone who dares to hurt my master will be killed without mercy." After saying that, he fearlessly charged toward the evil dragon, even though he was no match for it. But Yuan Chu's voice inexplicably calmed him. The Buddhist mantra she chanted merged with his attack. With both working together, they were evenly matched. Every time the evil dragon was hit by the golden light, its power weakened, and at this rate, it was no match for them. He wiped the blood from his lip, slightly frowning. The dragon was clearly pushed to the limit. They were just two shadows, but he was terrified. He knew that Yuan Chu's mantra was hurting him, so he attacked her more fiercely. But each time, Yi Chenyuan blocked the attack. Your opponent is me. Yi Chenyuan focused his energy to unleash his power. Yuan Chu immediately bit her finger, and used her heart's blood to turn each word into a Buddhist mantra. She quickly unleashed the evil dragon's soul. Combined with Yi Chenyuan's most powerful move, a heaven-shaking attack split the evil dragon in two. In an instant, the dark sky seemed to be raining light. Not only Yi Chenyuan was surprised, but the entire demon realm's grey sky was turning clear. Everyone stopped what they were doing, looking up in shock. Even Zhang Liuyang forgot to act as the crown prince and ran to the balcony. He looked at the sky with a complicated expression, and at the same time, he heard a girl's voice echoing in his ears. As the last mantra was chanted, Yuan Chu felt countless starlight enter her body, raising her cultivation from early stage to mid-stage. As the last starlight disappeared, a golden orb appeared in front of her. This was the demon god's core. Yuan Chu finally understood why her demon mother gave her the demon core without her knowledge. Only by breaking through herself could she reach her full potential. Yuan Chu kept the demon god's core, and when she looked up, she saw Yi Chenyuan collapsed on the ground. Yi Chenyuan shot lasers from his eyes at Yuan Chu. Shouldn't you explain why you were in such a dangerous place? Someone was shocked. Little Yuan was about to explode. To avoid punishment, Yuan Chu pretended to hurt her chest. Oh, my chest hurts. But the trick that worked every time failed. Because the light had healed her wounds, Yi Chenyuan was not buying it. Yuan Chu pouted and tried to look pitiful. My inside injuries aren't healed yet. Yi Chenyuan got worried. He reached out to check on Yuan Chu. Yuan Chu immediately grabbed his hand and started to whine. Little Yuan, don't be angry. I saw those demons were pitiful, and wanted to help them. It's just that the heavens have made me too kind. Before she could finish her sentence, Yi Chenyuan flicked her forehead. Yuan Chu looked at him with her teary eyes. So pitiful. Yi Chenyuan's interrogations all got stuck in his throat. He had no way to deal with her. In the end, he had no choice but to let it go. He then carried Yuan Chu like a princess. Yuan Chu giggled, quickly saying that she could walk. Always being carried by his disciple, he was losing face. Yi Chenyuan raised his eyebrow. Didn't someone say they were hurt? Stay still, or I will punish you. Yuan Chu huffed, clenching her fist. In the master, you know. Yi Chenyuan stopped and lowered his gaze, looking at her with dangerous eyes. So, you want to get punished right now? Yuan Chu immediately backed down, holding her chest pretending she was badly hurt. But, she was inwardly annoyed. She suddenly leaned in and asked, if I don't respond to you, will you fall for someone else? Yi Chenyuan chuckled. Did she not know how he felt about her? His love for her wasn't a moment of impulse, but it was for a lifetime. No matter which world he transmigrated to, he would always fall in love with her. Yuan Chu's face flushed red. This kid's love talk was getting more and more fluent, but she had a cursed heart. She had to deal with her own issues. She may not be able to reciprocate, but she still wished that while she was still by his side, that he wouldn't like another girl. She was ashamed. Her voice was getting softer and softer. Her disciple must be so confused. He took her in a princess carry, so gentle. Yuan Chu's eyes widened. She wanted to resist, but, considering his care for her just now, she didn't resist as much as she intended. She silently told herself, just let him this time. I'll discipline him later. But, should she just let it happen like this? Seemingly unhappy with her distraction, Yi Chenyuan kissed her red lips. Tell me, what are you thinking about? This time, Yuan Chu was speechless. Should she push him away? His words made Yi Chenyuan laugh. He was curious what was going on in her little head. Yuan Chu was conflicted. She wanted to give Yi Chenyuan everything he desired. But, she also felt like it was too dangerous. Yi Chenyuan found her hesitation cute. Seeing that she wasn't responding, he started to tickle her. Before she could react, Yi Chenyuan kissed her again. Her thoughts were in chaos again. How long has it been? Coming back to her senses, Yuan Chu turned her back towards him in protest. You big bad wolf, you said you'd let me think, but you kissed me anyway. Someone who got what they wanted, didn't pursue her adventurous outing. Mostly because if he said more, Yuan Shu now would react. After they went outside, they immediately saw Mo Shi. Mo Shi was anxious to know if the evil dragon was really gone. Although she had an answer in her mind, she couldn't help but ask. Yuan Shu knew how he was feeling. After all, her demon mother entrusted something big to her. Although Mo Shi had prepared for it, she was still shocked. This means the demon realm will have light. Although Yuan Shu made it seem easy, if it was that easy, the demon realm wouldn't have been in darkness for so long. Mo Shi bowed to Yuan Shu, vowing to be loyal and helpful to her. Yuan Shu quickly stopped her. Although she killed the evil dragon, he benefited a lot, so she couldn't accept such a bow. Her words made Mo Shi smile. She was strong and humble. Then, she looked closely at Yuan Shu. Although she couldn't see Yuan Shu, but she could see the glow of merit on her. No matter what she does, that glow will help her. She then told them to leave. The Demon King was waiting outside. Yuan Shu remembered she hadn't told Zhang Liuyang how to save the demon realm. She jumped happily. Yi Chenyuan followed. Just then, Mo Shi called for them. Mo Shi was shocked to find that she couldn't see Yi Chenyuan's fate. But it wasn't that she couldn't see anything. She said, "You have a natural star of Buddha, but you're destined to kill. You shouldn't have any connections." Hearing this, Yi Chenyuan's expression turned hostile. "You shouldn't say that to me. I don't believe it." Yi Chenyuan didn't listen. Mo Shi sighed. "Your situation is special, and you have a demonic nature. If you unleash it, you won't be affected, but it might harm the one by your side." Yi Chenyuan panicked. He asked what would happen to Yuan Shu, but the demon master did not want to elaborate. Yuan Shu's existence was an accident. The fewer people knew, the less of a threat to the heavens she would be. Mo Shi sighed and disappeared. Yuan Shu realized that Yi Chenyuan wasn't following. She turned and waved, "Hurry." Yi Chenyuan turned and looked at the effect of his healing powers. But, he started to worry about what the fortune teller had said. Why did it sound like killing was going to affect Master? He was conflicted, but he didn't believe it, so he decided not to dwell on it. Anyway, with him around, no one can hurt her. As soon as they went outside, they saw Zhang Liuyang, and many others behind him. The noble couple was most noticeable. They were probably the Demon King and Queen, who were in closed-door cultivation. Zhang Liuyang was excited. "My little uncle is the best." Seeing everyone was so concerned, Yuan Shu felt embarrassed. The king said her disciple helped too. Zhang Liuyang stared at Yi Chenyuan. "He's not right in the head, how could he help you?" Yi Chenyuan retorted, "At least I'm more normal than someone who is hundreds of years old." The person who was called old looked offended. He had lived for years, so he was still young, right? Angry, Zhang Liuyang wanted to attack Yi Chenyuan. The Demon King and Queen quickly stopped their son. They were in public. All the demons turned their heads, pretending that they didn't see or hear anything. The Queen was more gentle. She pulled Yuan Shu. "You're just so perfect. If you ever need anything, the entire demon realm will gladly help." Then, the Demon King personally invited Yuan Shu. Everyone followed. Inadvertently, Yi Chenyuan got pushed to the back. Yi Chenyuan felt uneasy. Master is his alone. Why do so many people want to steal her? Before he could dwell on it, Yuan Shu turned around and waved him over. Yi Chenyuan's unease disappeared. As expected, Master will always have him in mind. The Demon King took Yuan Shu to a pillar covered with carvings of demon flowers. At the top, there was a staff with a purple gemstone. Yuan Shu knew this was the staff that the demon ancestor left behind. And, the demon ancestor, had said that only those who could eliminate evil can inherit his staff. The Demon King thought that the staff now belonged to Yuan Shu. Yuan Shu shook her head. Although it was a good item, it must have the demon ancestors will attach to it. She wanted nothing to do with troublesome things. Seeing that she didn't want it, the Demon King was shocked, because no one in the demon realm could lift it. Maybe Yuan Shu could. Yuan Shu rolled her eyes. "It was simple, she can just take it out and give it to them." "So you're saying this thing weighs pounds?" A girl lifted it with one hand. Everyone was shocked. This staff could not be lifted by anyone from the demon realm. Then, it started to glow, and grew bigger than Yuan Shu. It obediently laid in her hand. The purple gem flashed and emitted a soft light. The next second, the light shot into the sky like a rainbow. The clear sky instantly. A voice was heard and the sky was filled with petals of flowers. The people below were stunned. This was different from the usual black, it was sweet-smelling. Everyone in the demon realm was touched. Yuan Chu thought something was wrong, but seeing everyone smiling, she couldn't help but smile as well. At that moment, the demon king went on his knee, facing Yuan Chu. He prayed to the demon god, wishing her happiness and peace. His words reached everyone's ear. Then, the queen and Zhang Liyang kneeled as well. All the citizens kneeled. In the cheering, Yuan Chu felt a bit uncomfortable. She didn't do anything for these people, but they were so grateful. She turned to the only person standing, Yi Chenyuan. He looked troubled, but he kneeled as well, like a knight showing his loyalty to his princess. The moment he kneeled, Yuan Chu's heart stopped beating. All her worries disappeared and she felt at peace. Zhang Liyang was gently pulled up. Then, she saw Yuan Chu on the stage extending a hand towards him. When he stood in front of Yuan Chu, she directly handed the scepter. Zhang Liyang was stunned. Yuan Chu said with a smile, "This scepter has my will. Only those who can inherit my will are worthy of possessing it. I believe you can do it, so it should belong to you." Zhang Liyang shook his head repeatedly. He wanted to get the scepter, wanted to protect this land, but he couldn't even purify the polluted land. He didn't think he was worthy, so he returned the scepter to Yuan Chu. Yuan Chu sighed. Zhang Liyang's efforts for the demon race, everyone has seen them. If he is not worthy, then no one is worthy to own the scepter. Yuan Chu thought for a moment. Then, she activated the scepter and forcefully planted it on the stage. She gave Zhang Liyang a seed made from the heart of a god, and instructed him to bury it where the scepter had been. Looking at the small, glowing object in his hand, he was hesitant. The demon land has been poisoned for so long. How could it be purified so easily? Seeing his disbelief, Yuan Chu pulled him to the hole, and directly put the seed in, but nothing happened after it was dropped. Zhang Liyang sighed, as he expected it didn't work. Yuan Chu was also a bit surprised, she thought. Then she grabbed Zhang Liyang's hand. She used the edge of her sharp nail to cut him. His blood dripped onto the seed. A green shoot climbed out of the hole. The green had the aura of life. The earth shook and the seed emitted a ray of light. Tiny green vines began to spread around. A lively wind swept through the entire demon realm. All the dark red land was slowly being replaced by another color. All the plants were restored to their original green. Countless were bathing in the rejuvenating energy, soil and plants. All the demons were crying and laughing at the same time, too happy and sad at the same time. Yuan Chu once again held the scepter. She kneeled down towards Zhang Liyang and used her spiritual power to project her voice, "Lord Demon King. It must be your sincerity that touched the heavens, so the demon realm received the blessing of the gods. This scepter is yours." Her sudden move shocked Zhang Liyang. He looked at the demons below. The demon king and queen smiled and nodded encouragingly. They also wanted Zhang Liyang to protect the land. Seeing him still stunned, Yuan Chu shoved the scepter in his hand. "It was your blood that activated the heart of the god. It proves that your heart was always willing to risk everything for this land. So, this scepter is yours." As soon as she finished, she was grabbed by Zhang Liyang. This scene shocked Xiao Bailong and Li Lao, and Yi Chenyuan's face darkened. Before he could move, he was pulled back by Xiao Bailong and Li Lao. "These are all merits. We can't let him ruin it." Zhang Liyang's voice was somewhat hoarse. He was grateful for what Yuan Chu did for the demon realm. "Thank you." So, he planned to immediately go to the 10,000 realms to propose to Yuan Chu. He and his disciple didn't have a chance. Only marrying her was the best choice. This made Yi Chenyuan lose all control. In the next second, he disappeared from where he was, causing Li Lao and Xiao Bailong to fall on the floor. He flashed in front of Yuan Chu and pulled her behind him. He glared at Zhang Liyang. He gnashed his teeth and said, "What are you planning?" He was jealous again. How could a man hug his precious person in front of him? And that the demon king wanted to take her as his wife. Yi Chenyuan's eyes turned crimson in an instant. He was going to fight Zhang Liyang without another word. Zhang Liyang was not one to back down. He picked up his weapon and was ready to fight Yi Chenyuan. Seeing the killing intent between the two, Yuan Chu immediately activated her barrier. "Can you please not fight on such a joyous day?" She forcefully pulled Yi Chenyuan back, but her obstruction made Yi Chenyuan furious. He stared at her with hurt in his eyes. "Is master going to stop me because of Zhang Liyang?" Seeing his aggrieved expression, Yuan Chu sighed. "The people of the empire are still waiting for us outside." She could only coax him, saying that she would go talk to Zhang Luyang for a few words then leave. And told him not to be angry. Yi Chenyuan also knew that it was not the time to act impulsively. Yuan Shu had a connection with the demon realm, maybe they would need the demon's help in the future. But, he was still annoyed that this wolf was eyeing his master. So, he demanded that Yuan Shu never come to the demon realm again. And if she wanted something, she had to have him be with her. After getting Yuan Shu's affirmation, he unwillingly gave in. After Yi Chenyuan took a step back, Yuan Shu walked to Zhang Luyang with a worried face. She felt like a parent, whose children are all troublesome. She looked at Zhang Luyang and said seriously, "We are not a match. Although I know that I'm loved by everyone and I'm smart, kind and extraordinary, those are just appearances. I'm actually a very bad person. So, you should turn back before it's too late." Hearing her words, Zhang Luyang was clearly angry and unwilling, but he couldn't help but smile. She was always so unique. Seeing his smile, Yuan Shu took it as a yes. Then, we're good friends from now on. With that, she extended her hand for a handshake. Zhang Luyang, seeing her act so carefree, completely lost his temper. He understood that love cannot be forced. So, he let it go. He finally stretched out his hand. Their big and small hands lightly touched, agreeing to this new concept of friend. Only then did Yuan Shu relax. After all the hidden dangers were resolved, she planned to go with Zhang Luyang. Seeing that Yuan Shu was about to leave, Zhang Luyang suddenly grabbed her. At the same time, a purple barrier appeared, separating them from Yi Chenyuan. Then, Yi Chenyuan saw. Zhang Luyang put both his hands on Yuan Shu's temples, gently pressed on her forehead. A ray of red light quickly. Zhang Luyang looked at Yuan Shu with an unprecedentedly serious expression. "You left a mark on me. If Yi Chenyuan ever does something bad to you, I will definitely teach him a lesson. And my side will always have you." While she was stunned, the barrier broke. At that moment, she saw sadness and unwillingness in his eyes. Yi Chenyuan immediately pulled her away. He filled his weapon with spiritual power, and was about to attack Zhang Luyang. Yuan Shu, who had reacted, for the sake of preventing a fight, she pulled him away. Zhang Luyang watched Yuan Shu's disappearing back. He thought of his promise, "Make sure to take good care of Yi Chenyuan. Otherwise, I will definitely snatch her back." Yuan Shu took Yi Chenyuan and ran for miles, before gradually stopping. She tilted her head to carefully look at his face. Yi Chenyuan seemed to have calmed down a bit. Only then did she dare to let go of his hand. But as soon as she let go, Yi Chenyuan immediately turned around to go back. She, without thinking, immediately hugged him. "Little Yuan, calm down. The demon realm is their territory. We can't defeat them." But Yi Chenyuan was not afraid. All he knew was that Demon King touched her. Yuan Shu hugged him even tighter, afraid that he would really go fight. To appease him, she turned him to face her. Then she used her sleeves to forcefully wipe at his mouth in front of him. "Now you are clean." Seeing that she was trying to please him, Yi Chenyuan's anger subsided a lot, but he still deliberately said that it was not clean. Yuan Shu said, "Then, how do I wipe it clean?" Then she looked up and saw that Yi Chenyuan was slowly licking his lips. That look made her immediately want to run. Yi Chenyuan laughed and said, "I will lick it clean." Yuan Shu immediately backed away 3 steps. "No way. How is little Yuan becoming more and more like a rogue?" Yi Chenyuan slowly moved closer. "If you don't give it to me, then I'll just take it." Little did they know, everything that was happening outside was being watched by 3 onlookers in the Heavenly Pearl. Xiao Bailong excitedly said, "I bet a supreme pill that the girl will compromise." The divine sword was shouting, "Just take him down." Li Lao made it clear, "No, their matter cannot affect the reputation of the 10,000 sword sect. If little Yuan does something wrong, the ancestor of the 10,000 sword sect will surely break his legs." Upon seeing Li Lao's stance, they understood that no one could stop them. Li Lao aside, these nosy things who liked to watch the commotion. Outside, Yuan Shu's expression was becoming more and more sour. This disciple was becoming more and more disobedient, and he always wanted to take advantage of her. Yi Chenyuan gently hugged her. If it wasn't for her word, he would have just done it and not ask for her permission. To make him give up this idea, Yuan Shu quickly said, "The people of the empire are waiting for us." Yi Chenyuan was unwilling. He lowered his head and kissed her forehead. "You are my only one." And let go. Yi Chenyuan placed some snacks in front of Yuan Shu. He softly coaxed her not to be angry and promised not to be jealous again. But now, his credit score with Yuan Chu is 0. Yuan Chu said that she wouldn't believe his words. To make up for the little mistake, Yi Chenyuan decided to prepare her favorite food for her. Yuan Chu looked at his departing figure with a complicated feeling. What to do? Little Yuan seems to be getting deeper and deeper. They are too similar. As a transmigrator, she actually kept thinking about leaving him. She was afraid that he would fall too deep. When she returns to her world, it would hurt him. But she still needed to go back to get her revenge. Yuan Chu took out the bead that the Demon King gave her. With it, Yuan Chu could get the Divine Mirror. Little Yuan, I also have no choice. So, Yuan Chu decided that after getting the Divine Mirror, she would stay with little Yuan until the second before his death, and then leave. After thinking things through, she relaxed a lot. But, the difference between little Yuan in this life and the last was 2. In the last life, he secretly followed the male lead into the Sujing Divine Hall. The result was predictable. He fought the male lead for 300 rounds and still got the mirror by force. Back then, Yuan Chu shamelessly promised Yi Chenyuan, as long as you give me the Divine Mirror, I won't bother you. The cold and aloof Yi Chenyuan held the Divine Mirror and refused to give it to her. Yuan Chu's eyes never left the mirror. This thing might be useless to you, but it's a life-saving thing for me. As long as you give it to me, I'll give you my divine artifacts, everything I have. His words changed the expression of Yi Chenyuan, who had cut off his 7 emotions and 6 desires. Was she saying that she didn't want to live after getting this item? Yuan Chu, whose thoughts were exposed, was a bit embarrassed. She originally thought that she could exchange a divine artifact for another one. And hers was famous. Yi Chenyuan would definitely agree. Who knew that he would directly put the Divine Mirror in his space without exchanging anything with her? Now, Yuan Chu was shocked. She ran in front of Yi Chenyuan, who was about to leave. She desperately asked what he wanted in exchange. She would go to the Mountains of Swords and seize a fire for him, but Yi Chenyuan did not need anything. He immediately turned to leave. Seeing the thing she had always wanted appeared, how could Yuan Chu endure? She forcefully suppressed her various feelings for Yi Chenyuan and shamelessly went after him. If he didn't agree, she would sit in front of him while he was eating. When he was sleeping, she would go and knock on his door. When he was fighting monsters, she would charge in to help the monster. In short, she would make sure that he couldn't sleep well. And when he opened his eyes, the first thing he would see was her. Either way she would annoy him. The corner of Yi Chenyuan's lips slightly lifted. He just walked around her and continued walking out, making Yuan Chu jump behind him. On the other side, Li Lao was puzzled as to why Yi Chenyuan didn't exchange with Yuan Chu. Although the Divine Mirror was special, it was indeed useless to him. Yi Chenyuan didn't reply. When he thought of the inheritance he got after acquiring the Divine Mirror, his eyes became even sharper. The voice told him that Sujing had the power to control time and space, and it could only have one owner. He said he wanted to save someone, which shows the time or space he wants to go to is not here. Plus, he's willing to trade his possessions, so he doesn't plan to stay here. This feeling inexplicably made him feel a little. Just then, Yuan Chu, who was lost in her memories, was suddenly. Yi Chenyuan of this life held her favorite pigeon egg dish. He couldn't help but sigh. This life's little Yuan was so much better. He thought of before he died in his previous life. He didn't even get to fight him a few times, before his soul weakened and died. He wondered what Yi Chenyuan's expression was when he saw his body. It was incomprehensible. Seeing him lost in thought again, Yi Chenyuan couldn't resist reaching out to pinch her face, which felt so good. It hurt Yuan Chu. Yuan Chu muttered in protest. Don't think that making something delicious will make me forgive you for those risks you took. After eating, I'll still be angry. Saying that, she took a big bite of the egg. Then, her cat-like eyes crinkled in satisfaction. Ding ding ding, how can it be so delicious? But she's still a little fool. But, she's so cute. From now on, he will add it to her diet. Yi Chenyuan looked at her dotingly. To keep too many people from disturbing his time with his master, he had the people of the empire leave first. On this journey, he could stay with her. In the end, Yuan Chu was no match for Yi Chenyuan's schemes, and was held in his arms to sleep. But, tonight Yi Chenyuan dreamt of her. In his dream, he saw Yuan Chu being torn apart, and the one attacking her was the grown-up version. of little Yi Chen Yuan, but he was bound by an invisible force. He could only watch. Seeing Yuan Chu in the pit for so long without any movement, Yi Chen Yuan felt like something was wrong, until he placed his finger over Yuan Chu's breath. He suddenly felt it. She was dead. Old Li was shocked, filled with disbelief. They could fight for 3 days and 3 nights. How could she suddenly die? Yi Chen Yuan's expression remained unchanged, but his aura became colder and more dangerous. Then, he carefully checked and discovered that Yuan Chu's soul had scattered. She was dead, for good. As Yi Chen Yuan said those words, his tone was the same as usual, but Old Li felt a trace of chilling cold. The sound of things collapsing and scattering made him gasp. He wondered if Yuan Chu had cultivated some kind of demonic art and died from qi deviation, or if she exploded from the teleportation device. He knew, to get Sijing, he had spent centuries of his lifespan to set the teleportation on her, but Yi Chen Yuan didn't believe it. Even if the teleportation device exploded, she wouldn't have just died. Little White Dragon told Yi Chen Yuan to burn the body. They had other business to attend to. Who knew? Yi Chen Yuan suddenly picked up Yuan Chu and held her in his arms. He wanted to revive her. He once heard in ancient texts that someone had successfully revived a person, so he wanted to revive her. When Yi Chen Yuan said that, the dragon and the soul in the cave were shocked. They couldn't believe it. It was said that the person from the Wan Jian sect had revived was her husband. But Yuan Chu wasn't his, and he had heard that woman used up her soul and died. Was he also going to do the same for her? It didn't make sense. They had fought and killed each other for so many years. Could he really have fallen for her? No matter what they said, Yi Chen Yuan only stared at Yuan Chu's body in front of him. His eyes were cold and resolute. He only had one thought of reviving her, because if she died, he felt like he would die too. She was the only proof that he was still alive. Little Yi Chen Yuan woke up from his dream, but after thinking hard about it, besides a feeling of unspeakable pain, he couldn't remember anything else. But he just felt very